Today, I've got another case study for you, and this next one is a brother from a different mother. I know that up until now, I've been posting material that focuses on traditional role-playing game concepts. Still, under the umbrella of role-playing game discussions, this game is a little hard to avoid. You see, I understand that there is a large portion of the role-playing game community that might see this game and think, well, it's not a role-playing game. Remember though, this video is part of a series that's looking at meta. So I'm going to ask you, what's your role at the table? Are you a player or are you a GM? Are you a fighter, a thief, a wizard, or the cleric? Maybe you're the tank, the healer, the damage dealer, or the face. Does it come down to the character's name and the playing of a role from within that character's own perspective? You see, there are many ways to view the word role in the game category of role-playing games. And on September 30th of 2015, a game raising nearly $400,000 with nearly 5,000 backers would close out its Kickstarter campaign and set a very high bar for what cooperative play means. Now, I don't deny that this game doesn't have all of the qualities that we think of when it comes to playing a traditional role-playing game like Dungeons & Dragons or Forbidden Lands. However, there are just too many design parallels and concepts that make it too compelling not to bring up. So without further ado, let's talk about solving the ultimate tabletop role-playing game problem. What is the single biggest monster that kills tabletop role-playing game campaigns? It's not the dragon or the lich. It could be that problem player, but it's the scheduling monster. Getting a group of busy adults together week after week is a real final boss. And more than likely, we all have firsthand knowledge about this. I know I do. But what if a game was designed from the ground up to not only survive this challenge, but to thrive on it? Today we're going to examine the board game Gloomhaven and how it employs the powerful concept of meta progression to create a persistent world, and how its core philosophy subtly mirrors one of the most discussed styles of D&D, the West Marches campaign. First, let's define some terms here. Now, meta progression is any advancement that persists across multiple play sessions. It's the opposite of a temporary power-up. This is the progress that sticks, turning a series of separate game nights into one cohesive, evolving experience. Gloomhaven is built on this idea. Even when you fail a scenario, you keep the experience and the gold you collected. No session ever feels wasted. Now, what's this West Marches campaign thing? Well, it's a tabletop role-playing game style designed to solve the scheduling problem. It inverts the traditional model by having no regular time, no regular party, and no regular plot. Players decide when they want to play. They gather a party from a pool of available players, and then they approach the game master with a plan. It's a complete paradigm shift that puts the players in the driver's seat. A Gloomhaven, a board game with structured scenarios, appears to be the opposite of that. However, as I hope you'll see, it utilizes a brilliant meta progression system to achieve similar feelings of player agency, shared discovery, and a persistent evolving world. It takes the spirit of the West Marches campaign and bakes it into the core mechanics. So we have two different games, a board game and a role-playing game done in a particular style, both designed to create a lasting campaign experience. But how do they power or empower the players? In a West Marches game, players drive everything by setting their own goals. How does a structured board game like Gloomhaven replicate that feeling of true player initiative? The player-driven engine. In a previous case study, I talked about Warhammer 3rd Edition, the so-called glorified board game. But here, we are talking about a board game. And we've established this rough link between Gloomhaven and the West Marches role-playing game style. They both aim to create persistent, player-driven campaigns. In a West Marches game, the campaign only moves forward when players take the initiative, set their own goals, and schedule a session. But how does a board game with its rule book and pre-written scenarios create the same sense of ownership? Well, the answer lies in how Gloomhaven weaves individual ambition into its cooperative gameplay. And this is a board game, and it's cooperative, meaning that the primary goal is to always win the scenario together. However, Gloomhaven constantly presents you with choices that pit your personal gain against the party's immediate needs. This starts with experience and leveling. You see, you gain XP not just from winning, but more importantly, by using specific actions on your ability cards. This creates a fantastic tactical dilemma. Do you make the optimal move to help the group, or a different move that grants you personal experience for long-term growth? This is your first layer in personal goal setting in Gloomhaven. It gets even more direct with perks and battle goals. At the start of every scenario, you're given 2 secret battle goal cards and must choose one of them to pursue in this scenario. They are personal objectives like end your turn on a trap or never heal. If you win the scenario and achieve your secret goal, you earn check marks towards permanent perks that make your character stronger. This system requires you to play suboptimally at times, creating a dynamic tension between the character's secret ambition and the group's success. And finally, every character has a secret personal quest. This is the ultimate player-driven goal, a long-term objective that, once completed, requires your character to retire. These quests give the character a powerful personal motivation that shapes their decisions across the entire campaign. So Gloomhaven creates a player-driven experience not by asking, what do you do? But by giving characters compelling personal goals to pursue within a structured framework. What are you pursuing these goals in? The world as antagonist. In a West Marches game, the world itself is the main character. And we've seen how both Gloomhaven and West Marches campaigns are driven by player initiative. But what are those players pushing against? In a traditional role-playing game, there's often a central villain and a so-called written plot. The West Marches style throws all that out. Instead, the untamed wilderness itself, its hidden dangers, forgotten ruins, and its deep history become an antagonist. Gloomhaven takes this exact philosophy, and it makes it a core part of its design. In a West Marches campaign, the GM's primary job is not to be a storyteller, but a world builder. They create a compelling, mysterious, and dangerous environment for the players to explore. The most common tool for this is the hexcrawl map, a grid of spaces that players can investigate, turning a giant so-called sandbox into a manageable structure. Now, let's think about Gloomhaven. There is no single main plot. Instead, you have a giant sticker-covered world map. It's a physical map crawl or a point crawl. The game is a branching web of interconnected scenarios, and your choices determine which new locations are unlocked. The world itself is the emergent story. And just like West Marches GM populates their world with tiered rings of danger, safer areas near the home base and deadlier threats further out, Gloomhaven's scenario difficulty naturally ramps up as you venture further from the starting city, and your actions have permanent consequences. In West Marches, a dungeon cleared by one group remains cleared for everyone. In Gloomhaven, this is tracked with global achievements, stickers placed directly onto the board that function as the world's memory. Completing a critical scenario might unlock a new game mechanic, or it might change the world's political landscape, permanently locking away paths of play or particular scenarios. The story emerges not from GM narration, but from the environment itself and your lasting impact on it. Both systems present a persistent world that remembers your choices, with a physical map that becomes a record of your journey. But a shared world requires shared knowledge. How do these games manage the crucial flow of information that turns individual adventures into a collective legacy? The shared legacy and information ecosystem. So we have a player-driven game set in a persistent world that acts as a main antagonist. But what makes that world feel truly shared? Well, in a West Marches campaign, with players constantly coming and going, a robust system of information sharing is essential. Players are expected to write sessions reports and collaboratively update shared maps so that the whole community benefits from their discoveries. A Gloomhaven doesn't just encourage this, It builds these concepts directly into its mechanics. First, let's talk about the party progress. Now, your party has a single reputation track, which is affected by your choices in scenarios and events. A high reputation gets you discounts at the marketplace, while a low reputation, well, that had surcharges. More importantly, hitting certain milestones unlocks major sealed content for everyone. Within the town of Gloomhaven itself, it also levels up through a shared prosperity track. As prosperity increases, better items become available in the shop for all players, and the starting level of new characters gets higher. This is the mechanical representation of a thriving community built on shared success. The most brilliant parallel is its card enhancement. After unlocking it, you can spend gold to permanently upgrade your ability cards with stickers. Oh, did I forget to mention that Gloomhaven doesn't use any dice? You see, here's the critical rule. These enhancements are permanent for the class, not just your character. When you retire, those powerful custom cards stay in the class box, waiting for the next player who brings that class out of retirement. This transforms your personal wealth into a permanent, generational investment in the party's collective future. It's Gloomhaven's version of a veteran adventurer leaving a detailed journey and a magic sword for the next generation. The stickered covered map, the shared reputation and prosperity, and the enhanced cards all become physical artifacts of play that mark your group's shared history. Gloomhaven mechanizes the shared legacy that the West Marches campaign fosters organically. But this brings us to the biggest challenge for both systems. How do you keep a campaign fresh and balanced when players at different levels and characters come and go? The engines of renewal. We've traced parallels between Gloomhaven and the West Marches role-playing game style, from player agency to the world as antagonist and the creation of a shared legacy. Now we come to probably one of the most important connections. How do these systems handle player churn and prevent the campaign from growing stale after a dozen hours? Now, a West Marches campaign solves this with its core design, an open table with a large fluctuating pool of players. Gloomhaven's solution is one of the most brilliant mechanics in board gaming design: the retirement cycle. The West Marches open table ensures that no single group of characters dominates the campaign. New players and characters, well, they bring fresh energy, keeping the game dynamic. Gloomhaven achieves the same renewal cycle through its retirement system. When you complete your character's personal secret quest, they must retire. You are required to give up that powerful level 9 hero you just spent dozens of hours building. Now, this moment of manufacturer scarcity is immediately followed by a massive injection of novelty and reward for the entire group. You see, a retiring character increases the town's prosperity, making everyone stronger. New event cards are added to the decks, evolving the world further. And most excitingly, you almost always unlock brand new characters in sealed character boxes, introducing a new class to the game. This brilliant design loop prevents the game from reaching a static endgame, where the party of max level characters just crushes content. It forces players to constantly adapt to new classes and challenges, ensuring that the tactical puzzle remains fresh for the entire 100+ hours campaign. You see, the retirement cycle is Gloomhaven's mechanical answer to the open table, a system of managed scarcity and forced renewal that is the true engine of the campaign. Gloomhaven masterfully took the core philosophies of a player-driven, persistent role-playing game world and translated them into a world in a box. And Gloomhaven is evolving. I mentioned at the beginning of this video, again, that I looked at Warhammer 3rd Edition. And that was done for a reason. You see, Gloomhaven is a board game with lots of traditional role-playing game elements blended into its design. And while it lacks the player and character agency that games like Shadowdark and Karen can have, It doesn't entirely lessen the experience, but that is changing. You see, while many tabletop role-playing games seek to branch out sometimes into other markets, such as war games, card games, or board games, Gloomhaven is doing what seems almost natural. In many ways, it already feels like a tabletop role-playing game. So why not go all in? You see, fulfillment for the Gloomhaven tabletop role-playing game is underway. Much of it is complete, with Cellofair Games already moving into the pre-order fulfillment cycle. It'll be interesting to see just how this board game fully transforms into a tabletop role-playing game model. And what board games have you played that feel like a role-playing game campaign? Let me know in the comments below. And I don't ask it often, but if you enjoyed this breakdown, please like and share the video, or subscribe, or dislike at your own discretion.